and good afternoon from wherever you are watching us from. This is Aria Na Wanjiku, and I will be your host, Jokiwa Murage, and we are honored to have a guest in our studio today who will be addressing us about a book he wrote some years back, or maybe some years just another day. Welcome, and let's go on. But before then, remember to catch us on our social medias, that is Facebook, YouTube, and Pillar TV, and on our number, which is 0798673426, or you can write us on our email, which is tvpira@gmail.com. Let us get us to know our guest for today, so that we can continue. And welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
You can kindly start by introducing yourself to our viewers so that we can continue.
Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be in the globe. My name is Reverend Benson Kimaro. I am born again, and I would like to say thank you very much, Joki, for inviting me to come and share about my story in the Pillar TV. I come from, my parish is called St. John's Kinyakiru Parish, and those who know the town, it is Kiangwachi Market near Sagana, also Asharo Dinari, and Kelagai Akidikonwe. So thank you very much.
You're most welcome. That's our guest for today, Reverend Benson Kimaro, who is honored to be with us from all the way from UK. He's not from within, and we are honored to have him here today in our show. And so let's engage, and remember to keep in touch via our social medias, as I've said, Pillar TV, YouTube, Pillar TV, Facebook, on our number, which is 0798673426, or you can write us through our email, which is tvpira@gmail.com. You can also reach us on our social media via my account, which is Joki Murage, on Facebook and also on YouTube. Without further ado, let's get to know our guest for today, who is a writer, a father, and among many other titles. So, where were you born once again?
I was born in a place called Asharo, near Sagana town. Yes.
I believe that is where you grew up. You went to a primary school, maybe nearby. So can we know the school you went to, maybe the secondary and the college, before you became a reverend?
Thank you very much. I started my schooling at a local primary school called Emmanuel Church Asharo Primary School. And that is also where I grew up. And after finishing my studies 7, around 1972, I was able to go to Boutique Boys Secondary School in Geshogo, where I finished my O-level exams, and I was very lucky to have a second division, and I was invited to a school called, a high school called Kapsabet High School. But already by then my father had 3 wives, and so there were many children, and the issue of school fees became difficult, so I could not join. And therefore I had to join paramilitary police for 2 years, where I was able to work as a paramilitary police. And one of the things I remember in that work is it is during that time when Idi Amin Dada, the president of Uganda then, announced that Uganda's border with Kenya goes up to Naivasha, which was very dangerous for us to hear that. I mean, for the Kenyan government to hear that, and therefore the boundaries checking and gates were very much intensified, and so on and so forth. After that is when, after 2 years of paramilitary force, I was able to resign there. I wish I had somebody actually to advise me that I could have gone to be a chaplain in the police force, but that did not happen. So I got employed with Molem Construction Company, which is a UK organization.
Let me cut you short before we continue.
Yes.
You said you went to a
paramilitary
police.
Yes.
Was that your calling, or were you forced by your parent by then to join the...
I think circumstances forced me, because when I knew that I would not be able to join from 5 and from 6, where I would go and proceed on to the university, then I had to look for a job that is readily available, and that will give me money in 6 months after training, and then I can be able to help my dad because of the big burden of school fees for the rest of the children.
So by then, were you the firstborn within the family of the 3 wives?
Yes, I'm the firstborn of the first wife.
Okay, so your mother was the first?
The first wife, yeah.
Mutumia wa mburi, as they say in Kikuyu.
That's right, yeah. Yes.
So you went and then you attended and then you resigned. What caused the resignation?
The resignation it was because of the fact that I wanted to be a freelance preacher. I also wanted to continue with my studies, but I found it very difficult to do the studies while in the paramilitary, although I also did some studies of the high school, and I was able to obtain actually a principal and 3 subsidiaries, so I was still okay. But then I chose to leave the place because I felt that it's not giving me time really to practice my faith. I wanted to preach, but there was no that opportunity, and that's why I said earlier on that if I had somebody to let me know that you could ask or apply for chaplaincy in the paramilitary force, that would have been the best, because it had given me the forum and the opportunity to be able to preach, to conduct services in the police force.
So did it happen that you knew your calling before even you went to preparatory school?
Oh yes, it started in 1975 when I was born again, and very soon I became the chairman of the Christian Union. And in those days we used to go for conventions, for rallies, for challenge weekends in various places. In fact, one of the things I remember very well is that, for example, if we went for challenge weekend in a school, which was a girls' school, we felt very good because as boys' school we did not have the opportunities to mix with girls. And as a teenager, when we were growing, it was always good to have the warmth of girls around you and so on and so forth. So as much as we went for the gospel proclamation and to listen to the word of God, be nourished and be encouraged, but at the same time again shaking hands with girls was very, very, very good. Yes.
Were there challenges with the change of career from being a military person to becoming a reverend during that transition?
Yeah, I think I did not have a choice because before I went even to the paramilitary, I was already used to preaching. I was joining an organization we called KSCF, which is Kenya Students Christian Fellowship, and we used to preach, and I liked preaching, even when one of the leaders in my local church told me that I am a promising young man, I am a promising born-again youth, and therefore it is good to go and train for ministry. I did not understand clearly what really he meant, because I thought that once you get born again, once you have a testimony and you can be able to preach, then you can go ahead and preach. In fact, I knew a number of people who were teachers in the Kenya Students Christian Fellowship who were preachers on their own right, and they used to work from Monday to Friday, and on weekends they were busy preaching, and that's what I thought actually I would be. But then I think God had this other plan for me, and maybe it is good to let you know what happened when I was employed as a checker in the Molem Construction Company. One day when I was arguing with God, because God wanted me to go and preach, but I thought that maybe because now I'm getting more money than I was getting, I can actually give my tithe and my offerings, and therefore the church may be able to employ somebody to preach. And it is that time on a new long stretch of tarmac when I saw a vision come here. It was, I think, 2 to 3 minutes, 2 to 3 seconds, and I just saw it here, and I looked at it like this until I could not see nicely, and then it was gone. But what I saw, which was a vision during the daylight, is that people were listening to me, and they wanted me to tell them more about Jesus Christ. In fact, when 3 seconds were over, I went aside to by the road and wanted to know what happened and why it happened. And even I was looking around to see whether there is anybody who is watching me, because I felt embarrassed.
So you are walking?
Yes, I was walking, holding my file, because I was employed as a checker on the road. And the file, of course, had the people who are working on that stretch of new road. It was in Meru, between Meru Mutindwa and Maua, and therefore the names of the people who are working, I need to go seeing them as they work, so that I can take my file and tick them. That was my work. And therefore I was not a very good friend of many of them, because they knew if I crossed your name, then you may not have the pay for the day.
So how did it feel like becoming a Christian, a Reverend Christian, back in the days?
That days, I think it was very good. Of course, I was the first one to be a Christian in my family. So being the first one, it was very exciting, and therefore I wanted to speak about it everywhere in my family, outside, and that's how I became even a very strong member of the youth group and a leader in the youth group in the church. And the only difference I can say is that almost everybody else was traditional. Everybody else did not go to church. My father, my mother, or my mothers didn't go to church very much. But when I became a Christian and started bringing Christians in my family, and we talk about the church and the Christian faith, some people started now wanting to go to church. Some neighbors also wanting to go to church. Of course, there were some neighbors who were good, but not in my own family. In fact, my own family had gone to become the home was a brewing place. My brothers were selling a brew, and the police were almost coming every other time. They would be given tips and what have you. So that's the kind of environment I grew in as a first Christian in that family.
What was the inspiration behind you becoming a preacher, a reverend? Was it because of your home background, status, or was it because of the society at large, how it was living back in those days?
No, I think this is more personal, Joki, actually. I have lived a person who is a go-getter. I want to be informed. I want to know more and more. And therefore, even when I got born again in 1975 in Form 3 in secondary school, I was already in the debating club, and I was very tough in doing that. In fact, people had nicknamed me after another MP called J.M. Kariuki, because they thought I spoke like him. So they named me like that. But and therefore, when I became a born-again Christian, I actually transferred that enthusiasm of wanting to talk about Christianity now. So I started speaking about Christian faith, telling others about the love of God, telling others about the importance of being born again, joining my schoolmates, going for church weekends, going for rallies here and there, whether it is at home, whether it is at school. I became very, very busy in doing all that.
Yeah, I can see my producer is telling us our time is up.
Okay.
But before we break for the break, I would like to know, or we would like to know with the viewers, when did you now decide to get to the School of Theology to do the Reverend thing?
Okay. Now, after the episode of the vision that I saw, and then came to decide that surely God is calling me, and there is no need for me thinking that I can give my tithe or my offering. God needs me. He does not need my money. So that's when I came in Meru. There was a parish in Meru town, and the reverend there and the vicar was a man by the name of shall I remember now? Yeah, Canon. He was Canon Daud Petro. He's the one who actually introduced me to then Bishop Getari, and then I was interviewed, and I joined the St. Andrew's Bible School, Kabare, and after 3 years, from 81 to 83, I finished my course, and I was posted as a deacon in Keruea Parish. When we had a church, not the cathedral now we have, but there was a church near the police station.
Yeah, Mabati one.
That's right. Yeah, that's where I used to come and preach. I was under a reverend called, he was actually a venerable, Itumo. So he was my boss then for 1 year. Before then I went to Mitongo in Meru, and then after that I became what was it? It was a radio producer after being trained, and a film projectionist in the diocese of Mount Kenya East. So I used to go all over teaching people about television, communication of the gospel through radio and TV, teaching even my fellow clergymen and women how to speak behind the mic and to preach through the mic.
Oh, does it mean you had done some journalistic arts, or
Yes,
what happened?
Yes, I at this university I did some communication, but even before then, Bishop Gitari had recommended me to go to do a communication course at All African Conference of Churches. I also did, before that I actually had done some communication course with an European lady who had come here as a missionary. Can't remember her name now, but we did it at language school of the Anglican Church of Kenya in Nairobi.
We'll get back with the story that you wanted to be a bishop.
Yes.
I'm not that I'm preempting, but before we do that, let's pay some bills, and we'll be right back. So we're coming back after the short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back. This is Aria Na Wanjiku. I'm Jokiwa Murage, and we are honored to have a guest by the name Reverend Benson Kimaru, all the way from UK. Let's get to know him more, but before then, remember to reach us on our social medias, Facebook, Pillar TV, YouTube, Pillar TV, and via our number, which is 0798673426, or you can reach us via our email, which is tvpillar@gmail.com. Welcome back once again.
Thank you very much.
You can say hi for those who have just tuned in. Yeah.
Hello, my viewer. My name again is Benson Kimaru. I'm ordained minister, and I come from Gasharo village. My parish now is St. John's Kinyakeru, which includes Christ Church Kiangwachi and St. John's Kinyakeru in Gadangae Archdeaconry. But I live with my family in the UK, and I just came the other day for one of the purposes to launch my book, which I have here, and therefore that's a little bit about myself. If, for example, if you are not there before I said whom I am, and I introduced myself before in the first session.
Yeah, that's our guest for today. But before we went for the break, we had a lot of talking, and we discovered his younghood, where he was brought up, how he grew up, what he did back then, and now we are getting to know where he's standing and where he's headed for some years to come, or many years to come, as per God's purpose and doing. Before we went for the break, you had told us about how you became a reverend, the school you went to, that is Kabare Theology of Studies. And then now we have discovered, according to your book, I discovered that you were to become a bishop some time back. Kindly share the story so the viewer can get to understand the journey and how it transitioned.
Yes, I think when I was still in the UK, around 2012, some of my friends came to let me know that the Diocese of Kirinyaga is vacant, and therefore I can come and apply. So I wanted, first of all, to know whether I qualify. And after looking at my qualifications, the courses that I've done in theology, and my stand in the province, in the Anglican Church of Kenya, and my own diocese, and I thought I was in a good stand with the hierarchy and so forth. And the same case happened where I was as well, because I had actually, when I had to apply, my bishop in the Diocese of Whitfield in England had to write me a letter to recommend me to come and apply, which I did. And then I came to discover that 12 candidates wanted the same seat, including the present bishop now. And I want to say how grateful I am to Bishop Kibosho, because he's doing a good job. God has used him in various ways, and we can see how the work of God is going on in the Diocese of Kirinyaga. Yes.
So when did your path of wanting to become a bishop start? What inspired you?
I think one is because of wanting to preach, and of course bishop's position is a good position, and we are told always to aspire to become a bishop. In fact, the Bible says that. And the same case when you become a priest, you become a priest so that you can serve your people in as far as God is concerned in a better position. And therefore, working as a clergyman, working as a pastor, when it becomes working as a bishop, it means you are working in a better environment, in a better capacity, and so on and so forth. So that's one reason. And also, again, once you are qualified to do something, it's always good to go and do it. Yes.
I'm even amused that becoming a bishop, you have to apply.
Yes, you
it's
have
like
to
a
apply.
job.
Yeah, it is actually, because for example, here we were 12 of us who wanted the same seat, and then we were of course interviewed, and 6 of us remained, and then we were interviewed again, and it's a thorough interview, where it's like you remove all your clothes, and they want to ask every question about your life, about many things. And then we remained 3 of us, of course, and then when we remained 3, and I must again thank Bishop Kibosho, because I had actually not known where we were going to do the interview, because for some reason I was not given the letter to know where the interview would be for the 3 of us, the last candidates. But I telephoned our bishop now, Kibosho, and because we had a good relationship, and even now, he was able to tell me where the interview is, and therefore we met at the cathedral just behind us, and that's where we did the interview. Yes.
And it happened the way it happened.
It happened the way it happened, and after the election, I was able to concede defeat and congratulate Bishop Kibosho which I believe he is doing much better even now. Yes.
But in Kenya we say asiyekubali kushindwa
Si mshindani.
Sure.
And also the other thing, that joke maybe I can also say is that of course the election was very competitive, and I even remember the first round of voting. I had actually 12 votes, and that means the rest of the votes remained only 11. So I became therefore I became a bishop silently for some 15 minutes, because after 15 minutes another round of voting was done. But I came to discover that God had also a good plan, another one, because when I went back to the UK and I had retired, God gave me another opportunity to serve in now an interdenominational Christian fellowship. I don't know whether you know a church like Lavington, which is of different denominations. So we have a church now which we planted in the UK, and it has been going now for about 3 years. And now, because I'm also old person now, I am after 70, so I am actually looking for a younger person to come and take over the leadership of that church, as my wife and I come to retire in Kenya. Yes.
And make our economy.
Yeah, I continue with working for the nation, looking after cows, looking after animals, planting avocados and maize and beans, and so on and so forth.
Welcome.
Yes,
Welcome during that time when it comes.
Yes.
So let's get to know your book and what it entails. Yeah, so that we can be more educated.
A quick introduction to the book I just wrote. Actually, I launched it, and I'm very grateful to Dr. who is now Professor Lazogo, and also Dr. Josiah Murage, who came to help me launch it with another people, about 250 people, on the 16th of November 2024. And this story is about my life. And the top cover, you can see a boy here, a boy and the animals, including cows and goats and sheep. And therefore it's actually a story of how I started, because I used to look after my grandfather's animals. Those days, Joki, we used to wear just one shirt.
A long one.
A long one. It
a
was,
dress top.
Yeah, it was shorter in front. I don't know why. And it was longer behind. And it has got a very good story, because when we went to take bath in the river, my father would wash me up, and they would also wash the shirt as well.
Before you bathe and hang it somewhere?
Yes, and then I would hang it on a stone somewhere. And then I would leave to go wait for it to get dry. And my father is, of course, also bathing, and then we would leave. Sometimes it was not totally dry, but I still would wear it, because you cannot go before the people naked. And then, but by the time we arrived home, because there's sunshine, it would be dry. And therefore, I talk about that, of course, in the book, and then that journey from that time to the time when I became a priest of the church. Yeah. And then inside, of course, I have told some good stories about the life that was there before the missionaries came to this country, before the English people came to this country to colonize us. I've mentioned a few stories about the Mau Rebellion and uprising. I have also talked about, but there are very good stories about the life before the colonizers came to this country. And that's when I came to know there were good activities like dancing. There was a dance called Geshukia. There was a dance called Mugoyo. There was a dance called Momboko. Of course, I did not write about Momboko because I thought it was much later. But there was Gatara and Kamano. And they were very good, because people had a program along the week. And I wish the colonizers who came, or the missionaries who came, may have were well informed about the infrastructure of the social life of the people here, because if it continued, it would have really brought up a very good society. Unfortunately now, they came, took our land, they came and they made us work for them, and they really reduced us to almost nothing. No wonder some of the guys who had mind resorted to go to the forest and fight for their land. And my father was one of them, so I'm very proud about that.
Do you feel that they would have done it better?
Yes, I do believe that especially the preachers, the missionaries, had the opportunity to contextualize the gospel message to the people they found here. Even me now, if I go to any parish or any church or wherever, like now we have got this interdenominational Christian fellowship in Barnsley in the UK. I have to look at the environment, I have to look at the context, I have to look at how they are, what kind of life they are living, so that when I bring the message of the gospel to them, it is the gospel that is fitting them, that is not working against their culture, against their tradition. Although I must also confess that there are traditions that I have to be against.
They
I cannot
are barbaric.
like homosexuality, I can't allow that. I don't like the way, and I don't like the way some of the children behave. For example, smoking from school, even primary level, doing a lot of kissing in the buses, in the streets, in the open places. Some of those things are not the best. So we also try to let people know what is the best culture, what is the best of the gospel that we produce, that we give.
Given a chance, would you like us to go back to the former culture we had before the coming of the white people?
Yeah, I can agree that, of course, African traditional religion had some things which were very good. There were some which were not very good. FGM, for example, was a culture that was given a high priority in our life, but it's not the best up to now, because a human being can live well, especially a female, without having to do FGM. The other, there were some songs that were also done during the circumcision times or initiation times, which were not good at all, and therefore I wouldn't be able to support that. I would like to support those things that were good. Like people used to do dancing, and there were no things like impregnation. Marriages used to be honored very well. Children or young men and women playing sex was a taboo, and therefore there were those things that were very good those days, but a few of them were also not good, that we need maybe to eradicate and continue with the good ones.
About the worship, the former worship, before the coming of the white people,
yes,
and this worship of today, do you feel there's something that needs to be done that was being done back then, and that is being done today, that should be done to those people who are doing it before then?
I think that is a very important question, and I have been actually struggling with that question, and the reason why is because I have heard people talking about somebody like Kebiru, who was a seer. Maybe you can call him a prophet, actually, because he was able to foresee things that came to be. Like he prophesied about a big snake that was opening the mouth, and there was a lot of smoke going up, and we came to know that was the train. And then he talked about butterflies that would come and you not be able to cut it, which means it was the English people who came, and we were not able to fight them, at least with our machetes and what have you. Worship was very important those days, and I hear, like, for example, the clan of Irongo used to pray if we did not have rain. For example, at a time like now, they would already have formed themselves into worship, going to ask God for rain. And I hear that the rain would come. when I would fall. But there were other things. For example, the issue of witchcraft was very rife in life. I hear about it. I have heard stories about witchcraft, which is not good. And therefore, as I said before, I think the best thing is to capture and select some of the good things, some of the good traditions that our people used to do, because their traditions were very, very good. And then we can eliminate those that were not good. Yes.
Yeah. About this book, the navigating the storm path. Who are the characters in the book?
Of course, I've mentioned a number of people in this book who we have interacted a lot with.
At a personal level?
At a personal level, or at a distance level, and so on and so forth. And therefore, I may not be able to remember all of them now, but it has stories about my own family, my own parents and their parents. It has got stories of key people like the former chief Njagawa Gyoko, and also my local chiefs in Gasharu village and Karetu ward. And I have also realized that when we talk about truth, in fact, truth is very, very important. And I've talked about truth, and it's important. There are a number of people who sometimes like to tilt and to evade the truth. But I must tell my fellow preacher men and women that truth is very, very important.
And very expensive.
It is very expensive, really. Yeah, you are right.
So, what are the challenges you faced? Maybe too because of time. Yeah.
I think one of the challenges
when writing the book.
When writing the book, the challenges I had was this was my first book to write, and of course, one of the things that was happened is an great encouragement by the regularly novelist, the colonial activist, and the Professor Ngoge Wadiongo. And he told me, you don't have to look for time to write. You just write. So I just started writing, and that's how this book came into being. Another challenge I think that I come to my mind, which has resonated very much with my life, is that in one of the parishes in Nairobi, because I also left this diocese of North Kenya East, which when they divided with the Kirinyaga and Embu, and I was in Embu, so I left Embu to go to Nairobi, and one of the parishes there was a treasurer who was very rich in a church, and this treasurer was doing some Shylock. You know Shylock? He was doing that in between the week, and therefore he was not banking the sandaka or the offering of Sunday, and he would have the offering and share it among people, and then he would tell them, you have to bring that with interest, and it is only 1 week, so by Friday I want that money. And I wanted him not to continue to do that, and he told me, are you the only priest who can be able to see that your predecessor did not ask me this kind of questions? But I told him, we have to work according to the rules. So the money have to be banked on Monday, and people have to be paid with money from the bank. And the complication became too big. And because he had money, he even contacted KTN TV. And I was very ashamed when they came, because he had organized them, he had paid them, and therefore it was a big conflict. The church almost was split into two. The committee itself was split into two. There were those who were thinking that what I was saying was right, but because this guy had money, he had also some influence. Do you know, Joki, when I came from the UK, the reverend who is there now asked me to go, because he thought that I was very annoyed and I needed to bless the congregation, which is very right. Although personally I had forgotten about the conflict that took place. But I went to preach there, and I was ready to bless and to speak about blessing, so that whatever they are doing, they may do without thinking that there is any hindrance in terms of my anger or whatever. So I did the blessing, and I know the people appreciated that very much. And one of the things that made me know that they really valued that is because the bahasha, the envelope that a preacher is given as a token, they gave me 20,000, and that is a good money. And I knew it is because they wanted to appreciate, and they know that when you want to give something to appreciate about godliness, then it have to be costly. So they did that, and that's a good example among many, where I stood for truth, and it was not seen when I was studying for it, but later on, people come to realize. Another one is in St. Patrick's, Kayole, in Nairobi also, where we had a very big discussion and argument about a church. I wanted to put up a church of 100 by 100, and somebody or some people are telling me, let us do 50 by 100. But by the time we finished putting that one of 100 by 100, after a long struggle, people came to the church and did not have a space. And therefore, some of the elders came telling me, oh, Reverend, surely you are right. We did not know this, so forgive us. And therefore, that's another time again we had a conflict with the elders. So I can encourage preacher men and preacher women to stand with what they think God is telling them. Because even if there is some argument, later on, people know the truth, and the truth will set them free.
The last one before we wrap up, do you purpose to write more books? This is the last one.
No. I am going to write. In fact, because this is under deadline, I realized that there are a number of topographical errors. There are also some things I need to straighten up that I think I did not finish well in this book. So I need to have a second edition of this book. And then I want also to write about that interdenominational Christian Fellowship Church in the UK. And there are so many stories. And Joki, you see now I am 70, and I have seen so many things that I need to let people know. In fact, one of the things that made me write this book is because some of the stories that were being told to me by my mother, when I tell them to my children, they are so surprised and they want to listen more. Just the other day, I was walking around our village and found out that some of the fruits that we used to eat from the bush are almost getting extinct. Now there are no more. So I have tried to get them and plant them in my farm, and I want to tell the children some of the stories that I tell them, including some of the fruits that we used to eat. So if I can plant them in my farm and show them when we come to Kenya, then they can now see the reality of the story.
Before we wrap up now, maybe you give the viewers some of your number or your contact details, so where they can get the book.
Yes.
Or any other important information that you may like to share.
Yeah, those who are using WhatsApp, which I can use both here and the UK, meaning for the time that I'm going to be in the UK, my telephone number is plus 44 791 988 131. I would say it again. Plus 44 791 9988 131. The local phone that I have here, and you can use it for M-Pesa, especially to buy the book. If you can send you the book. And by the way, these books are also in By Faith Bookshop of the Anglican Church in Kutus, as well as in Kerugoya. The phone is 0717 563 632. I say again, 0717 563 632. My email is also in this book, Benny Tito gmail.com. In the Facebook, we have got our address is the non-denominational Christian Fellowship. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. For those who want to purchase the book, it's going for how much?
500 shillings.
Yeah, it's 500 shillings.
If you are in Kenya, it will be 500 shillings. If you are in the UK, it will be £5.
So if you want to purchase the book, it is going for 500 shillings Kenyan money, or you can reach Mr. Reverend Benson Kemaro via the contact numbers you have just shared, so that you can get the book if you are interested. So this is Pira TV, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Joki Murage. We are honored to be your host. I'm honored to be your host, and we are honored to have to share the story of Reverend Benson Kemaro, who lives in UK, as he has said. So if you are interested to be hosted in our programs, you can reach us via our number, that is 0798673426, that is 254 in Kenya. Or you can reach us through our Facebook, Pira TV, YouTube Pira TV, or write us via our email, which is tvpila@gmail.com. Thank you for keeping in touch, and thank you for tuning for our today's program. May God continue blessing you, and remember to support and buy the book, because supporting one another, it will uplift you. See you until next time.